URDF is written in XML. So XML version, and then we need to create our first tag, the main tag that contains the robot. So this is, let's call it my robot, and then need to add an XML namespace, and then you refer to ROS wiki. That's the robot tag. Now, as I mentioned, we need two links. So let's create our first link. We don't for now. Let's keep the collision and the visual for a link. We don't need, and let's remove the material also for now. We will make it a simple file. We need to add a pose. That's the default pose of our link. So it's at 0, 0, 0 for position and orientation. And instead of a box, we will use a cylinder. So there we have two tags. We have collision and visual, and the difference here is that visual is used to render the link in a 3D environment, and collision is used to calculate the physics. Gazebo will use the collision tag to represent this link in a calculation. So an example of this case is if you have a complex modeled wheel, a 3D model of a wheel that contains a lot of polygons, it will take Gazebo a lot of time to calculate the collision for each polygon. But you can represent it visually as a wheel. You can use refer, instead of using cylinder, refer to the STL file or a 3D file. And in collision, you can replace it with a cylinder, with a much simpler object to calculate collisions. We will see that later. So in this case, it's a cylinder in both cases. So let's say radius of 0.1 and a length of 1. And we will call this link base footprint. So we will create a second link. Let's call it second link also, and it will be the same cylinder of length 1 and radius 0.1. And to conclude, to connect those two links, we will create a joint. So let's call it joint 1 of type continuous. I guess I mistyped it. And the origin we will create it at 0.5, which is half the length of our link. No orientations here. The parent link would be base footprint, and the child is the second link. So no access. We can also omit the access and the limits for now. That will, yes, that is our URDF file. It's simple, as I mentioned. Yes, two links and a joint. So that's it for the URDF. Let's create our launch file.